Right, so welcome everyone. English for Mechanical Engineering, Unit 1. We are going to be talking about materials. As always, we are going to read a couple of texts and we will answer some comprehension questions based on what we have read. So let's have a quick look here. Our first task: what are the objects made of? Match the words in the box with the pictures, then read the text. That's exactly what we are going to do. For extra practice, take a screenshot now and match the words steel, gold, glass, wood, ceramic and plastic with the pictures right here. And then now we can just check the answer. Number 1 is wood, of course. Number 2, steel. Number 3, ceramic. Number 4, gold. 5 is glass. And 6, of course, is plastic. Right, now let's read the text together, or you feel free to just listen and follow. We will answer a couple of questions after we've completed the reading task here, which of course can be a listening task for you. So, when a machine or a tool is made, the most suitable material must be chosen by considering its properties, which can be classified as mechanical, thermal, electrical, and chemical. The main types of materials used in mechanical engineering are metals, polymer materials, ceramics, and composite materials. The most commonly used materials are metals, which can be divided into ferrous and non-ferrous. They can be used in their pure form or mixed with other elements. In this second case, we have an alloy, and it is used to improve some properties of the metals. The most commonly used ferrous metals are iron and alloys which use iron. Because iron is soft and pasty, it is not suitable to be used as a structural material, so a small amount of carbon is added to make steel alloy. Non-ferrous materials contain little or no iron at all. The most common non-ferrous metals used in mechanics are copper, zinc, tin, and aluminium. Some common non-ferrous alloys are brass, formed by mixing copper and zinc, bronze, formed by mixing copper and tin, and other aluminium alloys which are used in the aircraft industry. Other examples of materials used in mechanical engineering are plastic and rubber. PVC or polyvinyl chloride is a type of plastic and it is used to insulate wires and cables. Rubber is a polymer and its best property is elasticity, as it returns to its original size and shape after deformation. Ceramic materials are good insulators because they are hard, resistant and strong, but they are brittle. Composite materials are made up of two or more materials combined to improve their mechanical properties. Concrete is reinforced with steel and is used in building engineering. Right, so here we go. A couple of words from the text that we have just read. On the left we have the text and the words themselves and definitions on the right. Alloy, steel, PVC, concrete, brass, ferrous materials, ceramic and iron. Feel free once again to take a screenshot and match the words with the definitions. Right, let's have a quick look. Alloy will be a combination of different metals. Steel is an alloy formed by mixing iron and carbon. PVC in number 3 is a type of plastic used for insulation. Concrete in number 4 is a composite material used to build houses. Brass in number 5 is an alloy formed by mixing copper and zinc. Ferrous materials are metals containing iron. Ceramic in number 7 is a good insulator, however it is brittle. And iron, surprise surprise, only G is left, a metal not suitable as a structural material. So that is iron for us right there. Okay, So that was our first task based on the text. Let's have a look at a couple of comprehension questions. Now, what is the basic classification of metals? If you go back to the text, of course, you can see ferrous and non-ferrous metals. What are the characteristics of iron? Soft and pasty and is not suitable to be used as structural material. Why are alloys created? They are used to improve certain properties of metals. To improve certain properties. Which materials are good insulators? Plastic and ceramic. Is steel an alloy? Just a short answer, yes. That's a bit too short. You should write yes, it is. Which metal does it contain? It's an alloy made of iron and carbon. So these are the first 5 comprehension questions. Now, let's move on to our next task. We have listened to this text in the class. So this part is in case you missed the class or if you want to practice, just to do a little bit of an extra practice. Let's complete the definitions with the words in the box. So in the box we've got cooking steel, coins, carbon, alloy, gold, air, copper, expensive, wires and ductile. Are you familiar with all of these words? Okay, great. Then let's get started. So iron, its Latin name is ferrum. It's magnetic and has a silvery color. In prehistoric times, it was used to make ornaments and weapons. If exposed to the air, it oxidizes. Copper. It is one of the most widely used metals by humans. In prehistoric times, it was used to make cooking utensils, coins, and ornamental objects. It is used in wires and cables. Number 6. Gold. It is the most expensive metal and is used to create precious jewelry. It is the most ductile metal. Number 9. Steel. It is an alloy formed from iron and carbon. It can contain between 2.1% and 4% carbon. It is also used for cooking utensils and pans. Okay, so here are our words from the listening task, and then just based on the listening task we could fill in the missing words in this chart. So here you've got metals, ceramics, composite materials. Alright, this is more like just to check if you have answered the questions properly. Right, let us move on. We've got another listening task which we have completed. We will turn it into a reading and listening task right here. So just listen and we will have a couple of questions to answer afterwards. So casting is a 6,000-year-old process. It is the oldest and most well-known technique based on 3 fundamental steps: molding, melting and casting. First, a pattern is made to form the mold. Then an empty mold is created and finally the empty cavity is filled with molten metal, which is then left to solidify into the shape. Casting materials are usually metals, but can also be plastic, resin, or various cold materials, for example, concrete. Casting is usually used for making complex shapes. Alright, now let's take a look at the right side. Drawing. Drawing is a manufacturing process for producing wires, bars, and tubes by pulling on material through a series of dies until it increases in length. It is divided into 2 types: sheet metal drawing and wire bar and tube drawing. Drawing is usually done at room temperature but can be performed at elevated temperatures to hot work large wires, rods, or hollow sections in order to reduce forces. Right, forging is our third option right here. So forging is the process by which metal is heated and shaped by a compressive force using a hammer or a press. It is used to produce large quantities of identical parts, such as machine parts in the automobile industry. Cold forging is done at a low temperature using soft metals and plastic. Hot forging, on the other hand, is done at high temperatures and makes metal easier to shape without breaking. In the past, forging was done by a blacksmith using hammer. Nowadays, industrial forging is done with presses powered by a machine. All right, three more short paragraphs here. Rolling is a metal forming process in which a material, metal, plastic, paper, or glass, is passed through a pair of rollers. According to the type of material rolled, there is hot rolling and cold rolling. Moving on to our second paragraph here with extrusion. Extrusion is a process used to produce objects with a fixed cross-sectional profile. A material is pushed or drawn through a die of the desired cross-section. The two main advantages of this process are its ability to create very complex cross-sections and work materials that are brittle. The extrusion process can be done with hot or cold materials. Commonly extruded materials include metals, polymers, ceramics, concrete, and foodstuffs as well. Ceramic can be formed into shapes via extrusion. Terracotta extrusion is used to produce pipes. Many modern bricks are also manufactured using a brick extrusion process. Extrusion is also used in food processing. Products such as certain pastas, many breakfast cereals, French fries, dry pet food, and ready-to-eat snacks are commonly manufactured this way. Right, sheet metal forming is our last paragraph here. So sheet metal forming is simply metal formed into thin and flat pieces. The basic forms can be cut and bent into a variety of different shapes. Everyday objects are constructed with this process. There are many different metals that can be made into sheet metal, such as aluminum, brass, copper, steel, tin, nickel, and titanium. For decorative uses, important sheet metals include silver, gold, and platinum. Sheet metal forming is used in car bodies, airplane wings, roofs, and roofs for buildings. Right, so these were our 6 paragraphs. Now, what we will have to do here in our next task is put the words in the correct order to make complete sentences. Again, 10 seconds. You can stop time easily when you're on YouTube. Take a screenshot. Try and put the words in the correct order to make sentences. And in 3 seconds, we can check your answers. Right, so number 1, taking their forms. Fluid substances into molds solidify. Fluid substances solidify into molds, taking their forms. This sentence is also from our reading comprehension text. Drawing room temperature is done. Drawing is done at room temperature. Okay. Heat is not essential in the drawing process. In the past, forging was done using a hammer. Although if you wrote forging was done using a hammer in the past, that would be just as correct. Extrusion can be done with brittle materials, and sheet forming is used to make many everyday objects. As you will see here, we also have passive sentences. Is done, can be done, was done, is used, and so on and so on. We covered passive sentences in our previous lesson. So, right, work in pairs. Well, we're not gonna do that here. Rather, we will just check your answers once again. So read the text again and write the correct processes. We have the products on the left. The products are wires, pasta, sheet, bricks, tubes, rods and bars, golden leaves, machine parts, and concrete. Okay, processes: drawing for wires, extrusion for pasta, sheet metal forming for sheet, of course, surprise surprise, sheet goes with sheet, bricks, extrusion, tubes, drawing, rods and bars are also drawing. This drawing is of course not the kind of drawing when you take a pencil and draw a picture. It's more like pulling something apart, that kind of drawing. Golden leaves would also be sheet metal forming, machine parts, forging, and concrete is extrusion, once again as the process that produces it. Right, so here we go. Right, couple of more questions. Which steps are included in casting? If you've taken a screenshot of the text, we can just go back and answer. We will just check here. Molding, melting, and casting. What is the mold used for? That is filled with liquid metal and is left to solidify into complex shapes. What does drawing use in order to process metals? A series of dies. What types of drawings are there? Sheet metal, wire, bar, and tube drawing. What kind of process is forging? Metal is heated and shaped by a compressive force. How was forging done in the past? By blacksmiths using hammers. What does rolling consist of? The material is passed through a pair of rollers. What materials can be used? Metal, plastic, paper, or glass. What are the advantages of extrusion? Create very complex cross sections and work materials. What materials can be used in extrusion? Metals, polymers, ceramics, concrete, and foodstuffs. What kind of process is sheet metal forming? Metal is formed into thin and flat pieces. And what can vary in sheet metal forming? Shape and thickness. Of course, how thick the product is. Okay, so that was our lesson today about metal works and materials. Hope everybody enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the class tomorrow, or if it can't wait, then you can just send a message here under the video. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you again very soon. Massalama.